Bobby Witt is great for baseball, and he should be on a real team. Now, listen, you might actually think I'm hating on the Kansas City Royals. I wouldn't say so much hate. I would say that I dislike small market teams, and I'll give you enough reasons at the end of this video. If you disagree still, you can leave the comments. So, it was magnificent seeing Bobby Witt, as I record this, hitting his first spring training home run. Bam! A laser, pretty much, a beam. How talented this kid in strutting the bases. He's just very smooth. And then I actually see this uniform, which, beautiful. And then I remember, oh, man, right, he plays for the Royals. Oh, bomber. Yeah. And I'll give them something before I actually elaborate further. The Royals, if one thing they have is that, wow, those uniforms have always been boom, boom, on touch, magnificent, beautiful. And that's about the only thing they have. Now, I want to be fair because it's always in the interest of fairness. Bobby Witt was very well placed by the Royals with this very big contract that they extended out, an extension of almost $300 million. And how could you not? They tied him up to something that could actually convert into almost $400 million if he ends up staying with the team through 2037. That would pretty much end his career over there. At that point, you would at least want to think. That was a great move. But that was also a move that is indicative of part of the problem with him not being on a real team. And I'll tell you why. And the first thing is, if you would tell me, would you like him on the Yankees? Oh, please, right now, give that guy right away. I'll send you whatever. This guy is phenomenal. If you have not seen him play after you watch this video, please go watch some highlight reel from Bobby Witt. He's been up in the majors 3 seasons, and that has been boom, boom quality. It's impressive how he has progressed steadily in every single category, season in, season out. That's as very good metric as you get of someone actually going in the north direction that you want. Last season, I was expecting him to be a candidate for the 50-50. We know that Ohtani actually did that. And you know what? In the end, he didn't do that. He actually went down in stolen bases, but he actually compensated with almost 50 doubles, which it's okay. It's fine. But yeah, he's a stud of a player. There must be MVPs in his future for sure, and I hope that also a different team. And again, you might actually be thinking that, man, why are you doing this to the Royals? I'm not only doing it to the Royals, and this is where the problem really comes into play. What would you do if I would tell you a stat that you might not know? You might have, something in the ballpark, wink, wink, of imagining. But do you know that all 30 MLB teams are worth at least $1 billion? That even includes the Miami Marlins. Yes, they are also worth $1 billion. Yes. You know that there's 16 teams that are worth at and north of $2 billion. That's a lot of money. Great. So let's actually check on this. Because the small market team thing, it's hilarious in how hypocritical that really is. So, the Miami Marlins, worth $1 billion. Let's check on the numbers. So, yes, worth $1 billion. They were the only team that had no progression in the 2024 season. It's not that they were the worst team value-wise, and they stayed the worst team. God almighty. Oh, and by the way, I live in Miami. Yeah. So, the Oakland Athletics, keep this in mind. The Oakland Athletics, who were in the middle of a drama of moving, at a 7.3% valuation increase, even though being in the middle of all that drama. Now, granted, you might actually say, well, yeah, but they were also in the middle of the fact of confirming they're moving to Vegas, and They're already out of Oakland. They'll be playing in Sacramento. Sacramento over Oakland, an update. That tells you all the story you need to as a city-wise. If you haven't been to both, well, you might be a little hazed. I hope you don't have the experience of doing just kidding. But anyways, that tells you the story. Even in the middle of this, they still had an increase and the Marlins didn't. Then you got the Reds. The price for the Athletics is right now at 1.18, right? So then you got the Reds at $1.19 billion. They had an increase in 8.2%. Great. We're still north of $1 billion. Small market team, right? Then, with an increase in value of 20%, which much of that can be attributed to one Bobby Witt. $1.2 billion. Lot of money. A lot of money. They went up a rank. They were 28 prior to the season. Now they're the 27th most expensive team. So, that's a lot of money. $1.2 billion for a small market team in which Bobby Witt plays. And again, I'm not bashing only on the Royals. I'll continue. You remember those Tampa Bay Rays, which have been, steadfasting of, we need a stadium to be built for us, yada, yada. And, they're a trade-a-thon. They look like an extension of a minor league team for the real teams up in MLB or whatever. They are worth $1.25 billion. What the This team who has been crying out loud for a stadium to be built for them. $1.25 billion. They went out 25% in value last season. Okay. So, yeah. Next is the Cleveland Guardians. I almost said the prior name. It's still getting adapted even seasons later. They're at $1.3 billion. A team that plays in Cleveland even is worth $1.3 billion. Cleveland sucks, by the way. What a horrible sports town, indeed. They're like losing. And I know a lot of people are excited with the Caps. They're going to lose again. The only reason they won was because LeBron James was back. Aside from that, they have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's about it. What a... much love to Cleveland, by the way. The Paul brothers are from there, right? It's Cleveland. Yeah, it's Cleveland. So, yeah, they went up in price, 8.3 bill. But anyways, you're getting the point, right? All these teams are worth over $1 billion. So, can anyone explain why the is that we have the situation in which these teams who are owned by billion-dollar people groups have all this small market talk around? Can you tell me that? Is it much more related to the fact that there has been an accommodation of accepting? Now, listen, we can't all be rich on the world, right? Same way, if you didn't have a big team, you wouldn't have a small one, right? But where my issue really stands with the smaller teams is there's not a willingness that is on display for them to legitimately be interested on spending money to really win. And yeah, I know that you'll say that the Royals, well, they had their runs in the 2010s. You know how that run was actually in the process of happening? That happened as a product of them actually catching thunder pretty much on the way they built their team coming up. And that's great. I'm not fascinated by the fact of you only building from your farm system. I'm actually rather fascinated of doing that and also spending the big bucks because you have money. And you might as well actually spend it because people are sure as hell spending a lot of money back on you. That's for sure. Do you think that the Marlins are doing any efforts on spending? They ain't doing that. In fact, just go and actually look at their off season. their offseason is pretty much based on the fact of Sandy Alcantara, who's actually coming from, being very injured, coming back. Do you know any of the guys that are playing in the Marlins? Do you know if you pick up that roster who's playing there? It's okay. You're not alone on that camp. I can guarantee you that. How many people know how many players play in the A's? A lot of people that actually might name Brent Booker. Luis Severino is now there. He won for the money strictly. God bless him. Kid actually had a lot of talent back in the day. I would have said like a very low ceiling, light Pedro Martinez version. Not exaggerating. I'm talking initial rating of Severino, not current day. So, yeah. The Reds, they try to do something and whatnot, but how much were they able to do? Same story. How much did they really actually go on the market and spend? And the trend just continues. They don't spend, and they have money to spend. They're growing. Their value is certainly growing. The money is not running dry. That's for sure. So why don't these teams really show appreciation to their fans and spend? Now, pretty much, how do you depict what is the total pricing of a team? 28.5% is out of the sport itself. 40.1 is out of the market value. Stadium is 19.5%. The brand is 11.9. If you're the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, you're actually going to check that box for sure. The Cubs, yeah, that box is already placed. But do you think that these teams just built their brand because they went out and spent 2 cents? No, they spent the money. So they cared about winning. Stadium, it's tough to say. I mean, with how much a business that is for the cities, especially, it's no coincidence that only in Florida did you actually see all the drama that the Marlins had in their time. And then the Rays also to get a stadium built. It seems that everyone else is able to, get around that pretty easy. Florida people, Florida. And I do live in Miami, so you get the point. So, yeah, stadium valuation. How many stadiums have already been boom, boom, boom? Who is left? I mean, you got Fenway, you got Wrigley, Dodger Stadium, Toronto, but there's a bunch of stadiums that are of very recent times. So, yeah, you can get around that part also. The branding, we said you get around that from spending and generating. There's no better publicity than winning. There you go. The sport. That one, yes, it depends on how the trend of how the health of the business is going. The trajectory in baseball right now, it's going back to national level interest. So it's going upwards. That's why, strongly, in that part, globally, you're going to have a positive in that department as well. Market, 40%. Yes, very strong one. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to create a bigger market, but markets are relative to what you make them be. It don't matter what team you are. You can be from a godforsaken city, and if your team is winning, the people are going to go. They are going to go. If you give them championships, they're going to go. Look at Miami when LeBron James was in town. Packed stadium. Not only was LeBron James the best player of the league, but he was also bringing in the finals, the chips. That's the best publicity, and it applies in any sport. If you win, they'll come. And my biggest problem is that real teams show respect to the fans. They show a willingness. I want Bobby Witt to play in a real team because the Royals, all things considered, they're still just another one of these small market teams that in the end, they are in many ways small, not just because of the depiction of the market they are, because they choose to be small and they actually just accommodate themselves to not spend more because they're comfortable with what they're making and they're making a lot of money and they have a lot to spend. So you just ask yourself, am I wrong to dislike small market teams because they choose to be smaller when they are in reality big by numbers and just like the Transformers in disguise right in front of your eyes. I'll read you in the comments. Be happy.